my day is a process, and if there's things about my day that I don't love, I can move them out of the way, and if there's things I do love, I can add them. What does that look like? Well, being greater than yesterday literally looks like, at the end of each day, spending 10 minutes, right, as an itinerary, and just going through my day and saying, okay, so what did we do really well today at Cliqued Digital? Oh, man, that was great. And that new process we've just rolled out, I love it. Oh, but could probably just tweak this bit. Oh, yeah, that's an idea. I'll write that down. But, and then, when I spoke to Jenny today, I probably shouldn't have told her to bugger off. And, I'll send her an email. Yeah, I'm going to note that. I'll send her an email. Hey, sorry, Jenny, I shouldn't have told you to bugger off. I was just having a rough day and da-da-da-da. Oh, what I did really well was this, right? So literally 10 minutes each day where I think, what are the things that I loved about today? What are the things that didn't make me feel that good?
One of the stories I'd read from you that really showed me that character of yours early on, and it seems to be a bit of a theme, sort of every time you're sort of coming up, you get a couple of steps forward and you get another bit of a knockback, and then you grow and learn. And not a while after you've come out of the program and with you back working, you had to come back to Queensland.
Yes.
And come back and face the music.
That was a funny story.
I mean, tell us about that. What I hear about this, it really shows that you knew your purpose and that you had found peace and you were ready to face up, which
mate,
character.
I had warrants for my arrest from many years prior, and I'd sort of left the state. When I got out of prison, I left the state and with the intentions to change my life and get off drugs and clean my life and all this sort of stuff. But the fact is, unless you're prepared to sort of really dig deep and do the work as to why you're a drug addict in the first place, then you can go to the moon and you'll find drugs. And so I left the state, and there was all this baggage that I left here and left behind. I was trying to save my life essentially, right? And many moons later and many states later, I was living in Sydney, and an opportunity presented itself to come up here and do some work. And I knew there was warrants up here, and they made me nervous, and I thought it was likely I'd go to prison if I came up here. But I was really, once again, faith's a big part of my life, and I just felt really led, like this was what I was meant to do. And I thought about it, I prayed about it, and I came to the conclusion that I'm going. And so I rang the police in Queensland, and I said, look, my name's Kratiuk, and I've got warrants up there for my arrest, and I'm flying up there in 2 weeks' time for work, and I'm going to hand myself in. And they said, well, cool, we know who you are, and we're waiting for you, and we're going to put you in jail. So I said, well, we'll see about that. So, there was thankfully there was a lot of great stories about my life by this point, right? There was a lot of good evidence about the heart, and I'd put in a lot of hard work, right? So I'd really changed my life, and I had essentially been given an opportunity with High Pages to come up here and do work, and I had no license. My license had been suspended forever, like ever. I'd steal cars and get in police chases and get away from them and all sorts of stuff, and it was nuts, right? And I reckon I was in the watch house up here at least 200 times, at least, right? I'd have to be one of their regulars from back in those days, right? And anyway, so I'd said to them, listen, I'm coming up there, I'm going to hand myself in, and I backed myself, and I packed my bags, mate. I flew up here. It was real late at night. It was like 11 o'clock at night for some reason. That's right, because I knew I was going to get locked up, right? So I was like, well, I don't want to be in the cell longer than I have to be, right? Because I knew that they'd put me in front of the judge the next day. And so I came up and I rolled into Roma Street Police Station with these 2 suitcases, and the lady behind the desk, she's like, planning on staying a while, mate? And I said, yeah, look, my name's Kratiuk. I rang up, I'm handing myself in, and she went, yeah, we've been expecting you, you're under arrest for breaching your bail and all this sort of stuff, right? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And I had this, in the suitcase, I had a plastic folder, with all the articles of my story and all the transformation stuff. And I had a letter from the commissioner and of the Salvation Army, and all these amazing people that were supporting me in work and all this stuff. And anyway, I ended up ironically sitting back in the same cell that I was put in when I went on the run and got caught and went to jail. Right, so it was actually the same cell, and I remember sitting in that cell, 10 years earlier, so much fear and anxiety, and I'd been on the run for 6 months, and they caught me, and I was off, to the correctional centre, and it was just a really shit time, to be honest. And I was doing it hard, and I was a drug addict, and I was coming off ice, and it was just a mess. And here I am in the same cell, and I was just like, mate, I felt so comfortable. I was so calm. I was like, nah, all over this, not a problem. No fear, no anxiety whatsoever. Next morning, we go into the courthouse, and this is after the police had said, "Mister, mate, you're going to get locked up for it, blah, blah, blah." Right? I was like, we'll see. Anyway, and, had a good lawyer and went in to see the magistrate, and the magistrate pulled this piece of paper out and read everything, every article, stories from the Salvos, stories from everywhere. There was so much online. And, mate, took the time. I mean, literally page by page. I was sitting there for like 15 minutes going through everything, read every reference, and you could see that the prosecution wasn't very happy. And the magistrate said, "Listen, mate, stand up." And she said, "Mate, listen, in all my time, right, as a magistrate, not only is there so much evidence of your transformation, right, but I've never been so inspired by a story like yours." She said, "Mate, everything is getting thrown out the door. Oof, see you later." And so all got squashed, completely squashed, and I was out. That was it. And I just remember smiling at the prosecution on the way out. But yeah, mate, then I went and applied for my license and went back to court. I had to, I can't remember what it's called, overturn the life ban or whatever. Same thing, man. So, I think there's a powerful lesson in that, and also in my story at High Pages and everything else. Like there's a real powerful story in, and when I was in the rehab where people say, "No, you're never going to make it because no one will take you seriously because you're an ex this and you're an ex that or whatever." The point of the story is really simple, mate. If the harder we work, the luckier we get, right? And if you're prepared to put in the hard yards, your story, is pretty irrelevant. I mean, if it just blew me away and continues to blow me away. Well, these days it doesn't blow me away as much because I've worked my ass off for it for long enough. But certainly in the early days, it just continued to blow me away that these amazing people would come out of the shadows and support me, and say, "You know what, this is great. We love seeing stuff like this. Like if you're really prepared to lock your horns in and give it a red hot dig, we'll support you all the way." And I'm very much the same with people today, like it doesn't matter what you've done, where you've come from, whatever, if you're prepared to own it, take full ownership, and then work your butt off, then, everyone will support you.
Yeah, I mean, seeing that contrast, learning from your experiences, developing your values.
Absolutely.
When you're finding your purpose, like coming up to Queensland despite what may happen.
Absolutely.
Charging into the firefight because you knew you were doing the right thing.
I did.
That's what people follow. That's leadership.
That's a very good point.
You have a tagline with the business, which I think is fantastic. I sort of always loved reading one of the leaders I've read a bit about as a Kiwi, the former All Black captain Richie McCaw used to start every day, and he wrote down "start again."
Love it.
And I thought that was a good way of looking everything back. But it sort of, it doesn't matter what happened yesterday, start again. And then I've heard in the last 6 months, as I've sort of heard you at Vinnie's and read about you over the last little while, greater than yesterday, and how you take the other approach where you're sort of reflecting and using that emotional intelligence, using that reflection on all the things that you've learnt, the perspective you can get to be better today than you are tomorrow. You're better today than you were yesterday.
Absolutely.
Mate, where did that come from? And that's a really that's inspirational in itself, and sort of gets you out of all the bullshit, all of the rat race, all of the I mean, what better way to focus,
Yeah, mate, it's bang on. And it's just something that evolved, to be honest. It's just something that started to come out of me when I started, I started doing some keynote stuff, and I started speaking in organisations and charities and then businesses and stuff like that. And that actually started with ministry, so I started evangelising, and then that moved into sort of corporate staff and keynote stuff, and I just started evolving and it just came from being emotionally intelligent, right? Like, it came from sort of asking myself at the end of the day, how do I feel about today? Like, what could I have done better? What could I have done differently? And then I started to really unwrap this concept of being greater than yesterday. When we started Cliqued Digital, which we'll talk about shortly, we always knew that we wanted to lay that theme on top of the brand as, I guess, our cultural theme. And it's a call out almost to all of our people. It's a call out to the way Chris and I treat the staff. It's a greater than yesterday. It's a way that it's the way that we hold ourselves accountable every day to be greater than yesterday. It's the way that we treat our customers and their digital campaigns greater than yesterday. And when you hear it like that, sometimes it can sound like, oh, geez, that sounds like a shitload of work. But it's quite the opposite, right? And what we do as human beings is we get so caught up look, goals are fantastic. Obviously, you need them, but we can get misguided by the destination, right? And here's my point: if your destination is $1 million house or a sexy AMG car or whatever that might be, you kind of miss the beauty on the way until you get there, right? Now, when I got out of the rehab, the one thing I wanted more than anything was a Harley Davidson, because I'd lost my Harley Davidsons when I left the club, rightly so. And I used to get so much freedom riding my Harley, right? I just felt free, and all my brain had turned off, and it was just this amazing moment that I used to enjoy. So it's literally all I thought about for years. And then I bought one, and I had it for 2 months, and I sold it, right? And it was literally all I thought about for 5 years. Every bloody night I'd be dreaming about this bloody Harley. And it was almost like I missed the beauty until I got the Harley, and then I was like, well, it's not really what I thought it was.
That's the point of what
right?
I was going to give you.
And then I sold it. So that sort of made me say, well, shit, what is this about? What am I doing here, right? And what it is I was becoming misguided by things or destinations or timelines. Now, there's a few problems with that. But here's the beauty of, see, here's the thing. When we go to bed each night, let me start from this place, right? We're all engineers, all of us, right? And we don't give ourselves enough credit for that, right? Because we're too busy catching up with the world around us, and the world's telling us to do shit, and so we're chasing after it, and the government's telling us to do shit, so we quickly do that, and then whatever, like the boss tells us to do shit. We're always reactive, and we're all just trying to catch up, right? Just stop for a sec. Just stop for a sec and realise one of the most important things you will ever realise in your life. Just imagine, wherever the listener is right now, close your eyes and imagine yourself in the corner of the room, right? Just close your eyes and imagine yourself. You do this with me too, Simon. You just imagine right now there's someone in the corner of the room, and you're in the corner of the room. You can actually see from that top corner, you're looking down at you and I right now. Can you see it?
Yeah, slowly.
Right? Now open your eyes. Mate, you are the only creature in the known universe that has the ability to do that. Fact. The only creature that can do that, right? You're the only one emotionally intelligent enough. But we don't use that anywhere near as much as what we should, because we're all reactive and chasing, and right? So here's the point. Our day is a process, right? And Gary Vee helped me unravel this part, right? Is our day is a process, like it is when we go to work and when we start a business and the process is shit, so we refine the guts out of it, and then it gets better, and then suddenly it's fucking amazing, and we're like, wow, how good is it? Look how good it's working. Same with our life. It's a process, but the day is a process, right? So if you start thinking of your day as a process, listen, to anyone out there, it can be scary, but this is fact. If there's shit you don't like in the day, fucking move it. Move it, right? Like, and sometimes, I know, I get it, it's scary. That can be your job. I hate my job. I hate it. It brings me so much disappointment. I never have joy. I hate getting up and going to work. Man, Stuff that.
Do something about it.
Mate,
Be your own leader.
Quit. Sorry, walk out the door. I know it's yeah, but I've got bills and scary and this and that. Man, you are missing the beauty completely, right? You are an engineer. You are in complete control of that process of your day. And so what I started to figure out over the last, well, certainly in particular in the last 3 years, is that this day that I do every single day, right, on repeat, I have the power to create whatever day I want. That's a fact, right? And that's a fact for all of us. And so piece by piece, I started to push things out and pull things in. One of the things, for example, is I could never wake up in time. I love sleeping in, right? I love my sleep. And I'd try and suddenly move my alarm clock back 2 hours, and I'd go from trying to get up, at 7:30, start getting up at 5:30. And I just flunk it every time. Man, the alarm would go off, man, I just turn it, snap, snap, snap. And then I realised, you know what, I'm doing too much too quick. So I moved my alarm 5 minutes every week, right? And now I get up at the same time, bang, crack a door, like bang, I'm up, right? But I did it over time, right? Just 5 minutes, and I didn't notice the difference, right? It's the same thing, right? And anyway, so I started to realise that my day is a process, and if there's things about my day that I don't love, I can move them out of the way. And if there's things I do love, I can add them. What does that look like? Well, being greater than yesterday literally looks like at the end of each day, spending 10 minutes, right, as an itinerary and just going through my day and saying, okay, so what did we do really well today at Cliqued Digital? Oh, man, that was great. And that new process we've just rolled out, I love it. Oh, but could probably just tweak this bit. Oh, yeah, that's an idea. I'll write that down. But, and then, when I spoke to Jenny today, I probably shouldn't have told her to bugger off. And, I'll send her an email. Yeah, I'm going to note that. I'll send her an email. Hey, sorry, Jenny, I shouldn't have told you to bugger off. I was just having a rough day and da-da-da-da. Right? Or, my partner, when I was speaking to my partner, I probably shouldn't have been, I should apologise for that. That was a bit, what I did really well was this, right? So literally 10 minutes each day where I think, what are the things that I loved about today? What are the things that didn't make me feel that good? Was it someone in my life? Was it a relationship? Oh, I really don't enjoy talking to that person. Cool. Sorry. Bye. Honestly, that's what I've done. And I've just started to refine this process. And what happens is suddenly you realize you're in love with your process. You're in love with it, right? Here's what happens. The moment that happens, right, is all the fear and anxiety of tomorrow is gone. And all the remorse and the regret and the guilt from yesterday is gone. And you start living in the now. You start living in today, right? And that takes so much weight off your shoulders. I'm not suggesting you don't have a calendar, but part of my process, right, truly, is that I don't overload myself with any of that stuff. And part of my process is that on a Sunday, I look at my calendar for the week, right? But every other day, I look at my calendar for the day, right? So I'm aware if there's stuff coming up, so I don't miss it. But that's it. I literally just live in today, right? And then I go to bed each night, and I've just got to be a little bit greater today than yesterday. And if that means, what is it for me? Well, stop drinking or stop swearing or whatever it is for you. All of those things, bar swearing, I've done, but that's a work in progress. but yeah, and I've realised that I have the power to create this process that I'm deeply in love with. Now, here's the thing: when you do that, when you fall in love with a day, and you just keep getting up and doing it, next minute you'll wake up in 2-3 years with the AMG in the garage, right? And whatever else it is that you wanted, and it will just it will add to your life and it will feel so tireless that you got it. Like, it will not feel like you've worked for it at all because you've fallen in love with your day. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's Bill Walsh, the San Francisco 49ers coach, has a saying that he's written a book, the scoreboard will take care of itself. You do all the little things right.
That's
you do
great.
The process, the scoreboard takes care of itself.
So true, man. And that's it. I genuinely love my day. Someone said to me the other day, we were talking about it. I guess something that was like a revelation, and that was that I felt that if God asked me today, out of and let's just put this into context. There were years where I lived like a rock star, truly, right? But if I was to live 1 year over again and again and again for the rest of my days, what year would it be? And it's this one, and it's this one, and my finances are significantly lower than they have been in past, and all the other things that you think are important. Some of them are not there, the materialistic stuff, whatever. But this is the year that I would just live over and over and over again if I could, because I've just fallen in love with the day that I have. I've just fallen in love with my life. My fiance's played a huge part in that. My business has played a huge part in that. But really, that philosophy of just being a little bit greater today than I was yesterday is what's delivered that for me.
I mean, that process, that focus, it's so simple, but I mean,
Yeah.
geez, I mean, most of us, and I think we've probably all fallen in this trap before, and myself, it's often when something bursts, or when there's a crisis, or you go on holiday for 2 weeks at Christmas and you think, fuck it, I'm going to change.
Yep.
I'm sick of this life. I'm going to change it. I mean,
Yeah, man.
it's that pressure cooker building up.
Absolutely.
You know, you don't climb straight to the top of Everest. It's a process.
Yeah,
eh?
I agree.
Cliqued Digital.
Yeah.
So started earlier this year.
Yeah, mate, we're probably 14 months old.
14 months, yeah.
No, probably less than that. Yeah, no, I think it's just over 12. Yeah,
Awesome.
13 months or something.
What's
Pretty
the driver,
crazy.
purpose behind that?
Mate, really simple. You know, we've both had really fortunate careers. You know, I've really been fortunate enough to work for some of the greatest companies in this country, and I've seen it done so well. I've also seen it done really, really poorly, and I'm not overly impressed by many of the digital marketing agencies out there. I think that there's a lot of digital agencies out there that talk such a big game, but that don't play a big game. That's all fluff. And so we figured out early on, in particular, that we love Shopify, right? So Shopify is you know, the greatest website platform on the planet now. Book, it's certainly the go-to for e-commerce. And we back Shopify to be the future, absolutely future. The rate in which it's growing is remarkable, and you know, we've owned Shopify stores of our own, and we just love Shopify. So Shopify is an e-commerce platform, and we knew that with COVID, you know, because we essentially started a brand in the middle of a global pandemic, right? Everyone thought we were completely nuts, and at the time, I was in a very comfortable, you know, national executive role with a top 200 ASX listed business, you know, so I was comfy, you know, if I wanted to be. The fact was that I wasn't enjoying that experience at all, and I, you know, once again, with the philosophy that I was living, being greater than yesterday, I kept coming at the end of every night and saying, what is it about today that I hate? And that was it. I'm just not happy. I'm not enjoying this. I don't feel appreciated. I don't feel valued. And, you know, I know I deserve better than this. And so we took a punt, and but we also figured online stores would boom because of COVID, right? And we backed that in, and we were bang on the money. So we're a little bit over a year old. We've now got 10 full-time staff. We've probably got about 150 amazing customers. And all we do is specialise in the digital marketing of Shopify, right? So, or the building of Shopify. So we do web design, Google Ads, SEO, essentially, but only for Shopify stores. And, you know, there's currently something like 100,000 Shopify stores in Australia. So, you know, we are just loving the journey. And you know, we're wise enough to know, and have been fortunate enough to have seen it done as good as it can be, i.e. high pages. We're fortunate enough to understand that the hero of our story is never going to be us. It's going to be our team, and it's going to be about finding the right team members that are passionate and driven, and taking them on a journey, and equally them taking us on a journey, right? So, and we've known that from day one. So you know, we're building an amazing culture. We certainly feel like a family here, mate. The sky's the limit. We've moved into this office 6 months ago. I've just sent them a letter today saying we're moving out of it because it's too small. So, which is a good problem to have, right? So we're growing really quickly, and to be honest, the sky's the limit. One of the most important things, though, about being a leader is also knowing when you need leadership, right? And people go, well, hang on. No. And well, yes, right? So one of the, and that once again comes back to emotional intelligence, right? So we decided that Chris and I decided that we would build an advisory board around our brand, and we built that, only a few months into starting the brand. And, most people would not even consider doing that at that point. We knew that would be key to our growth. And so we're very fortunate that through our networks, we know some pretty impressive, pretty intelligent people, certainly each in their field. And so we've built a team at this stage of 4 specialists that are just the best at what they do. And they've been a really big part of us, really honing in on the vision and the strategy. And for me, as someone that's reported into CEOs over the past few years, in my career and have served some amazing CEOs, I missed that sort of, here, okay, this looks fantastic. Now go away and do this and tweak it here and tweak it there. And then I'd sort of run away and pretty it up and come back and put it on their desk. And I was like, what do you reckon? And it was almost like this son-father thing that I used to get a kick out of, right? And it suddenly disappeared because suddenly I was the CEO, right? And I lost that accountability, but I was intelligent enough to notice that was missing, and immediately go and find it. And now it's what holds us accountable. So, we love our advisory board and all of our team. We're looking forward. I think with their partners and everything, I think there'll be 26 of us on our 50-foot yacht for our Christmas party.
Massive.
In a couple of weeks' time, mate. So we're pretty excited for that.
That's awesome. It just really goes to show, like everything we've talked about, the people are the core of everything. This whole story, your story, my story,
of course.
And I'm really glad we got to tell. I know we're just about out of time here, Matty, but glad we got to touch on the fact that leaders need leaders. Like
absolutely,
the mentors that you've had.
Absolutely.
Mike Pond, the guys, David Vitak.
Yeah, they're all amazing, mate. They've been such, I say this all the time, my life is a testament to a lot of hard work, sure, but equally to a relentless amount of love and grace by so many people, starting with my family and then moving into the corporate world and all these big guys that have taken me under their wing and allowed me to be there, which is a privilege I don't take lightly, and I really don't, and I think that's really important too.
Trust, and it's that trust that you need to give and you need to receive.
That big thing with Vinny's, I think Vinny's also was a big part of sort of taking my life to that next place, because 3 years ago when they asked me to be an ambassador for the CEO Sleep Out, I immediately I felt so honoured and flattered by this amazing organisation, right, one of the biggest charities in the world, that they would ask me, of all people, to do that with them. And I felt that was a remarkable responsibility, a huge opportunity, but a responsibility that I would never take lightly. And so I really honed in on that. And then, this has been something that I'm so passionate about. And I will tell you that, we're really excited that at the beginning of next year we will launch publicly that I'm going to attempt in 2023 to become the highest ever fundraiser in the history of the CEO Sleep Out in Australia. And that I've begun training. I've been training now for 4 months, and how we're doing that is that I'm going to ride a bicycle from Cooktown to Brisbane.
Awesome.
Which is about 3,000 kilometres. So
and you don't look like you've ridden the Tour de France any time.
Mate, I haven't. Definitely not, mate. I'm no cyclist. The only bikes I've ever ridden have engines in them and big ones. So, yeah, mate. So I was sitting around the table with Mike Pond probably 4 months ago, and we had this idea. And Mike, being the amazing, generous man that he is, he's the 50% of the MAP Foundation, which is Mike and Angela Pond. And Mike, being a very successful businessman, will spend the rest of his life giving away millions of dollars through his philanthropic work that he's doing with the MAP Foundation. And he said, look, I want you to be my first project. And so, off we went to Trek Cycles and New Farm and bought the coolest gear ever. And, mate, I've been, doing a couple of 100 Ks every week since, which I love. And I never in my wildest dreams did I think I would fall in love with cycling. I was one of those guys that would ride past you and call you every effing name under the sun. And but I have a very newfound appreciation for cyclists, and I've become one of them, to be honest. And I just love it. It's just it gives me that therapy feeling like the Harley Davidson used to when I'm on the bike. I sort of switch off and nothing else matters kind of thing. And that's where I do some of my best thinking. And you know, I was on the bike yesterday for 3.5 hours or something. And you know, I just meditate. The craziness stops. I just love it, man. So
yeah, and a good why at the end of it. A good goal.
Yeah, and for me, that's it, right? The why, and I'm so passionate about us. I'll finish with this. I mean, in my lifetime, I am 100% committed to making sure that the town that I live in solves the problem of homelessness, and I want to be here when that happens. And we're meeting with the Lord Mayor next week or in a couple of weeks. And I mean, he's been such a great support to us, Adrian Schrinner. He's such a great Lord Mayor, and he's been very passionate about, you know, the homelessness stuff, as has the Premier. She's been really, really helpful. And but you know, we've got an amazing opportunity here in Brisbane, because in 2032 the entire planet is going to be looking at our city for the first time ever, right? The entire planet, because of the Olympics. In past Olympic cities, homelessness has actually gotten worse in the lead up to any Olympics and then afterwards, right? It's been
the gentrification and
heaps worse.
Driven out. Yeah.
And what they do quite frequently is they shovel them off somewhere, hide them, and then, you know, it's disgusting, absolutely disgusting. We've got 10 years up our sleeves, right? And we've got a lot of smart, passionate people in this city, so many of which are now Vinnie's ambassadors, right? Like, we've got an amazing team. And we're committed to conquering this. Like, we're committed to really finding a solution. Here, I'll tell you this. When COVID kicked in, right, in our town, in Brisbane City, when it first kicked in, before there was talk of vaccines, before we even knew what this was, and we saw footage of people dead in the streets, it was crazy, right? Let's go back there a couple of years ago, right? Really scary stuff. The government took all the homeless people off the streets of Brisbane. For the first time ever, there was no homeless people in Brisbane City. None.
Wow.
Isn't that remarkable?
Absolutely. Shows can be done, hey?
There you go. That's my point, right? It shows me that if we care enough about something, and as has our response to COVID, right? Doesn't matter what challenges we face, what COVID has taught me is if we really focus on something and it matters enough to us, there's nothing we can't get through.
Focusing on something good.
Right? There's nothing we can't get through, right? We had this crazy thing that came out of nowhere. It was going to wipe us all out. And suddenly, no, we'll make vaccines, right? Like, we will spend whatever money we have to, trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. We will get everyone working on it. We'll find a way. And we did, right? And we'll continue to do that, right? Because you know why? Because it matters enough to us. But here's the problem with that. And I'm not suggesting that that's not a good thing. It's a great thing, right? I'm double vaxxed. I'm very happy to say so, right? But there's always been a solution to people being hungry. And there's always been a solution to people not having a roof over their head. Always. There's always been a cure for both of those things. So it needs to matter more, right? And so I guess part of what we do as ambassadors for Vinnie's and for the CO Sleep Out is we're the leaders in this city that are calling other leaders out, that are calling our communities out and saying, come on, guys, this needs to matter more. This needs to be more important. We don't necessarily expect you to go and scoop them up with your own hands. That's fine, right? But what we do expect is for this to be important enough to you to contribute somehow, right? And that we have a responsibility to do that. It is cliche, but they're our brothers and sisters.
Absolutely.
They really are, you know? And stories like mine are not possible without the love and support that places like Vinnie's provide. It's just not possible.
And not without the leaders like you that have learned from all their experiences. And one thing that I can really see in everything you say, and I know about you, Matt, that paying it forward, everything that everyone's put into you over the years, you're paying, you're using those experiences, focusing on something good and driving, and whether it's through Cliqued, whether it's through Vinnie's, your other all the people that you inspire and help and mentor. through the advisory group. It's all working towards a good thing. And
well, the plan is to retire at 66, right? Because I spent 33 years taking from this world, and I intend on spending 33 years giving back, and then I'm going to take off.
Yeah, good on you, mate.
That's the plan.
Hey, look, we're out of time, mate, but I could sit here and talk to you all day. I reckon there's a fair few things we can pick. So hopefully I can get you back on the podcast at some point.
Love to, mate.
Delve back further. So thank you very much, mate. I really appreciate the time you've given and your insights, and I'm sure everyone's got a lot out of it, mate.
Very welcome, Simon. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Thanks, buddy.